Hi, this is Carl from flyfishingmyway.com. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of fly tying equipment, and I'll admit most of it is doing pretty much the same things as you could do simply. There's quite a lot of materials, as you can see, a few feathers, etc. Lots of different materials for tying lots of different flies. As you can see, I've got it all set out, so I know where, if I wanted to go and get a hook, I would go over there. If I wanted to go and get some whipping threads, I would go to my whipping threads section, pull out the whipping threads. So that's the first thing I would say, is have something set aside that you can set up, that you know where things are, so if you need them. The other thing is, for beginners, which this video is intended for, I'm just going to run through the basics of what you're going to need when tying a fly. Okay, let's say you've never tied a fly before, you want to go out and purchase the equipment. What do you need? Okay, what you need is a basic vise. Now, these are 3 examples of basic vices. That's one I've got set up, which is a basic vise with a clamping mechanism for the front. This one is another basic vise. This is probably as simple as you're ever going to find. It's got an adjuster to clamp to a tabletop, like I've got here. It's got an adjuster so you can slide the actual vise head up and down, and it's got a very simple mechanism for tightening flies. And as you can see there, you just tighten that up and it pushes the metal together. So you can spend anything from £10 or $15 to probably £150 to $200 on a vise. They come with various different things. They come with sections underneath here so that they catch the off-cuttings. They come with a magnifying glass for the small work, which is useful when you're tying a size 22 dry fly. So you need a vise. Very, very simple to use, very easy to get hold of. I would say if you're using obviously your best tabletop, then get some protectors for these clamps, because they are quite strong, and they do leave a mark. This is an old tabletop, so it doesn't matter. I've got it set up here in my garage. So there's your vices. What else do you need? Well, I would say to get yourself a whip finish tool. Now, I will show you how to use that separately on a separate video. Very, very easy to use. They finish your flies off nicely and they're secure. You should never ever have a fly that comes apart because of your poor whip finishing. Now, we can sort that out. That's another video. Okay, you've got to have a whip tool. This is just essentially a bobbin holder. As you can see, it's just a uni thread, 200 yards of 6-weight black uni thread, and all it does is just a vehicle to dispense the thread around the hook. Again, very inexpensive, very, very inexpensive, and you know, there's so many different varieties of a tool that, you know, just have a look yourself, see what feels the comfiest in your hands at your fishing shop. Last but by no means least is the scissors. Now, I would say out of all the equipment, I would spend more money on a pair of scissors, a pair of good quality sharp scissors. Now, you can see from the side they actually look like a knife. They're that sharp that they can take the tiniest piece of material off. So spend as much as you can on the scissors. The tools you can normally get in a set. I wouldn't go spending a lot of money on them, because no doubt in a few months' time you will end up wanting to increase the quality or improve the quality of the equipment that you've got. Vices, get a basic vise. Don't get an expensive vise yet. You never know. They do the same things, it's just when you get a little bit more advanced, it's a lot easier to do the trickier work. And if you spend a lot of time tying flies like I do, I've got my Pro Vise, that's in the other room. So those are the things you need. Obviously, what else do you need? Well, the most important thing is a hook. Now, I would recommend to everyone who's learning to tie flies is don't tie a fly anything bigger than maybe a 12. I would even go down to a low as a 4, size 4 hook. Basically, just so you can see how you're getting the material onto the hook itself. If you're using a very small hook, as you can see here, this is not a tiny hook, and you can see the line going on there, and it's a lot easier to see the material going onto the hook if you've got a bigger shank to work with. You can end up tying size 22s, like I said. Some of these buzzers in here, they're small buzzers. I've got some dry flies over here that are exceptionally small, and you wouldn't really want to try and tie one of these as your first fly. I mean, look at the size of that. That's difficult to even see, to be honest. So imagine trying to tie that and put that into relation to the other hook. You know, we're talking completely different there. So that's your basics. Recap. Okay, what you've got to do, you've got to go and get yourself a vise, a cheap vise. Go and get yourself a few tools. You're probably going to get more tools if you got a little set. You'd probably get a pair of hackle pliers, which these are, which again we'll cover on another video. Maybe even a couple of extra little tools as well. As long as you get a whip finish tool, and as long as you get a whipping tool and your scissors, you'll be away. And we'll go on to some little bits of material that you need now. So, tying your first fly. I would recommend you tie something that is quite easy to do and something that's going to be useful. I would try a wet fly first. I would try and I would get maybe some sort of easy fritz material. Maybe even tie a lure with the fritz material, which is quite gaudy, but there's a couple of little tricks that you can use to tie these, and they look really good.